Thank you, Malati. Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction. This is an exciting topic that we are going to discuss today. Looking forward to engaging discussion with the team that's there. So just to introduce the panel that we have, esteemed and knowledgeable panel that the team has put together. First and foremost, ladies first. Hannah represents Transcosmos, which is a Japan-based GBS BPO company with offices in North America, South America, Europe, Middle East, South Africa, China, Philippines, Indonesia, and Philippines. It comes with a 51-year history, and with that history continues to evolve and innovate services. Transcosmos in Malaysia especially emphasizes on R&D activities as a priority for the operations in Malaysia. Hannah, personally, she's done her MSc from University of Illinois, US. At Transcosmos, Hannah has had the opportunity to manage digital marketing, e-commerce, and customer support. She's had the opportunity to also design new services that meet the changing needs of global clients and services, how they evolve for the future. And driven by her latest interest, her interest in the impact of digital disruption to the GBS industry, Hannah has immersed herself in disruptive strategy studies from Harvard Business School, Boston Consulting Group, and others. Our second panelist on the panel is Gaurav Agarwal. While Gaurav and I share the same last name, we are not related. So Gaurav represents StarTech. StarTech is the largest employer in Iskandar Putri, globally, again, present in multinational countries. It's a technology-enabled business process outsourcing solutions provider, not just in Malaysia, but in a number of countries globally. Gaurav himself comes with his 17 years of experience in the GBS industry, having worked in India, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, and Malaysia. He's been driving operational performance, business development, ensured compliances, deployed strategic and process innovations, and adopted a culture of team development and capability building. As you may have seen in the video earlier, he heads the Johor site for StarTech in Malaysia. And he's, having worked in so many countries, he's well versed with managing multicultural teams and large diverse teams. Our third panelist is Ibrahim. Ibrahim is currently the VP for Business Facilitation at IIB Ventures, Samrin Bharat. Ibrahim has over 20 years of experience in diversified industry, including the ICT industry, in the area of business and industry development for regional and local market. Ibrahim is also the project director of Blockchain Village at Medini, which is a strategic project under IIBV to promote development of ecosystem of blockchain hub at Medini, Iskandar, Malaysia. He is also the project director for Johor Digital and Emerging Technology Talent Program, JDET. It's a talent upskilling and reskilling development program in collaboration with Johor State Government and supported by IIBV's education and talent partners. The intent of this program is for creation of high-value jobs and development of the Johor digital and emerging tech sector. And we'll ask Ibrahim a little more about how is JDET supporting companies and organizations within the Iskandar space. Last but not the least, the fourth panelist is Prakash. Prakash represents Iskandar Regional Development Authority, commonly referred as IRDA. IRDA is a Malaysian government body tasked with the objective of regulating and driving various stakeholders in both private and public sector towards developing Iskandar, Malaysia, into a strong and sustainable metropolis. Prakash is currently the Vice President of Economic Prosperity and member of KRA Steering Committee. He comes with 18 years of experience in strategic business development, product management, general management across Southeast Asia, US, Canada. And in the past, he's worked with organizations like TMF Group, Thomson Reuters, CLJ Legal, and LexisNexis. So those are our panelists today. Warm welcome to all the panelists and people listening to us. Hopefully you'll enjoy this program. Certain key takeaways that I'm looking forward to, and you will also get a good insight into what the various agencies and companies are doing in Iskandar. So, a bit to this this panel. It is about fusing people and technology. As all of you may be aware, as you see, COVID-19 has changed a lot of things globally, and it has impacted us in Malaysia too. Talent has literally left the building. We now realize that unlikely that the talent will come back into offices, or only if it comes back, it may be a small percentage. The technology innovations have been hastened by with the advent of COVID-19, and it is kind of moving humanity away from office back into homes, into holidays, hotels, different countries. We are now, as companies, we are building cultures online and not inside an office, which was what it used to be. In a way, it has helped. It has put employment work on a more level playing field, and talent come. And it has helped for the talent to come from anywhere, not just particular location. And you're not limited by the talent that's there. During this session, I have certain questions that I'd want to ask, depending on the background that each of our esteemed panelists come from, and to share their insights on the current talent trend situation, identifying the drives of talent management strategy, and to fuse human power with technology, which is the essence of the discussion today. So Prakash, the first question is for you, since remote work, e-commerce, and automation, the advent of these industries in a big way, and with anticipation of 25% of workers having to change professions, potentially. What do you think, as per your experience, what can the Malaysian regulators and industry do to support the talent landscape in Malaysia, especially post-pandemic and in the future?
Thank you, Ajay, and a very good afternoon to my fellow panelists and everyone that's tuning in to today's session. I think, Ajay, you raised a very interesting point and a very valid point. I just had a session, I believe it was about 3 days ago, with Talent Corp on the same subject. And I think these are very interesting times that we are living in at the moment. Remote working is actually nothing new globally. However, in fact, even in Malaysia, I think certain multinational corporations, had adopted remote working practices even before the COVID-19 pandemic hit us. And these organizations actually fared to be more resilient than those who were just adopting into remote working practices. Now, having said that, I think Malaysia in general and Malaysians in general have become more receptive of remote working. Organizations have become more nimble in the way they measure productivity, and how they actually assess that productivity vis-a-vis, a particular person who's working remotely versus someone who is, clocking in at the office. There are cultural differences as well. I remember many years ago when I was based in the US, and also in Canada, remote working is very contingent upon at that time when winter, especially winter months, it becomes difficult to go out and about, particularly in Canada. So remote working was a very accepted practice, and organizations even way back then had put in place practices to be able to ensure that productivity and workflow is maintained. I think with that theme in mind, as far as the government is concerned, I think we have put in place certain measures, including certain programs where we empower organizations to adopt remote working practices and incentivize them around those plans and practices. Earlier this year, when earlier this year when IRDA actually received a substantial allocation from the federal government to sort of, incentivize organizations in Johor to adapt to new work practices, adapting to the new norm. We actually put in place programs that incentivized organizations to encourage their workers to work remotely. This may at some point perhaps even include them being reskilled or retrained to work remotely as opposed to being physically present in the office. Let's also bear in mind that with these sort of work practices, technical challenges also do come in place. Organizations may need to upgrade their hardware, their software, or perhaps even their ability to connect virtually, all of which requires some funding. So measures were put in place, and we believe that there have been substantial adoption of remote work practices. So I believe this is not something that is it's not a phase, it's not a passing phase, but I believe it's here to stay. And those organizations that have successfully adapted remote work practices are now practicing what is known as a hybrid work culture, right? Where a certain percentage of the workforce works from the office, and another percentage works remotely, whether that's from home or from somewhere else. As long as they're connected, they're able to fulfill their deliverables. They are considered as a productive talent to the organization. And I think these practices have not only ensured continuity of business, but I think it also attracts a new breed of talent to join the organization, particularly those from the younger generation, and also those who are looking to adopt more work-life balance, in their day-to-day living. And I'm going to say that, I think the government, as far as IRDA is concerned, as an agency, we are very much behind this. We believe in this, and we trust that, those organizations that actually adopt this practice and do it well are able to succeed in effectively executing and ensuring productivity is not hindered in any way.
Thank you, Prakash. Prakash, you bring up very interesting points that remote is kind of new to this part of the world, more to the Asian countries. It's been pretty prevalent globally, especially in US, Canada, Europe. I know that there's been a wide acceptance of that. So yes, it is here to stay. Definitely, we should see more companies adopting that. We at Summit Next right now are a 100% work from home company. I prefer to continue to stay that way. You also spoke about one interesting topic which was incentivizing companies for remote work. Could you just give if you can, I think people listening to this discussion may want to hear a little more about that. I would be interested to know more about it.
Sure. So earlier this year, we put in place a very broad program known as I Am Secure, which stands for Iskandar Malaysia Secure. The whole and as part of this umbrella initiative, there are several programs that have been put in place. programs that encourage organizations to rework how they do business, i.e., if they were to digitalize and take their business or work practices on a digital basis, they can apply for certain incentives under the program. Now, this comes in various forms. It comes by the number of workers that are working in the organization, after which a particular formula is put in place by way of salary incentives to enable the organization to actually invest the incentives that's given to them towards improving their infrastructure and also training their staff or their workforce to adapt to digital workspace. Now, that's as far as employment is concerned, but we also took into consideration that as a result of this pandemic, Johor was in a very, very, and continues to be in a very, very unique position, I think, across Peninsular Malaysia, because we are very much still a border city. And as a result of that, several, of our locals lost their jobs in Singapore, and they've had to adapt to remotely working online, or even for that matter, starting their own business online. So we did come up with certain programs, including startup grants for those who are interested to start their own business digitally. And these programs have been rolled out, and I believe these programs will continue to be rolled out further in 2022 as well, as we see more people adapt. And I'm glad to actually share that we had a very overwhelming response in terms of the acceptance rate. So this goes to demonstrate that I think people are looking for new solutions, they're looking for alternatives. And we also found that those businesses, including traditional businesses, for instance, retail businesses, they had to re-evolve themselves. They could not be a brick and mortar organization anymore. They had to start selling their products and services online. And when they did so, what they encountered was the staff that they had needed to adapt to those new digital practices. So, for instance, if someone was a competent salesperson in a brick and mortar store, that person will now have to readapt or re-engineer themselves to be a competent salesperson in a digital marketplace. And they're two very different components. They're two very different traits. So I believe that having these programs or having these enablers actually did enable most, especially the small and medium enterprises, to re-engineer themselves and ensure their own sustainability. And what we did find was those organizations that did it and did it well were able to sustain themselves. So there's really no loser in any of this, because when the government invests in incentives, particularly enablers for businesses to re-engineer themselves and position themselves in the digital marketplace, things can only get better tomorrow when borders reopen, which is perhaps anytime soon. And you will now find that there are two lines of business. One would be the traditional brick and mortar, and the second would be a virtual business. So there's really no loser in adopting a digital strategy. And organizations that adopted that mindset have not only ensured their sustainability, but I think have also engineered themselves and put themselves in a position for incremental growth in the months ahead.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you for the good insights. Hannah, my next question is for you. We always talk about, as corporates, as agencies, we always talk about people first, then tech. And digital transformation will always have a dependency on any particular organization's availability to develop talent, and imbibing the benefits coming out of any new technology. So at Transcosmos, what are the driving efforts to reskill the workforce? And do you think any change or with the education system or educational institutions will help companies in general or trans customers?
Right. Thank you, Ajay, for the very interesting question. So as an outsourced service provider, traditionally, we had been more big on operational skills and processes. But in the past recent years, we are amping up our data analytics and digital competencies, as well as customer experience and also industry focus in our operations. So in terms of digitalization, we also adopted digital learning management system, where before we do a lot of in-class training sessions, but now we move them to a learning management system for our employee training. And this way we could also track each person's progress. And as a company, we know the level of our employees better. And then because we know what is the level of our employees, we know what they need to, what kind of training that they need afterwards, we are able to provide that for them better. And we can also adjust it based on each person's learning needs. And so the new learning experience also gives them a hands-on case study of what digitalization is about, what digitalization can do for you, because it's not just about streamlining process, right? It's not just about adding technology, but then using that technology, you gain new insights. And then based on that new insights, you are able to improve your offering. You can improve your customer experience. You can improve your employee experience. So not only we can see their own performance compared to the targets in our training system, but yeah, as a company, we are able to respond to each person's learning needs and adjust our learning program. And that's why the employee learning experience is improved. And also based on the insights of our employee progress, we added a few additions in our training programs to improve the customer centricity mindset in our employees. This may come from industry immersion programs. So because of the digitalizations that we do, right, we are able to collect better data about our customers. So then we know better how to improve ourselves, how to serve them better. And so we gain new information about our customers in each industry. And thus we are able to implement that in our training program to create industry immersion program for the visibility on the customer side for our employees. And then as well as we need to add leadership development, especially now with the digital transformation, there's a lot of cross departments needed more than before. Also, we added trainings in leading cross-functional teams on the operational side. So yeah, there's a lot of new additions in our training programs to improve the customer centricity and the data analytics and digital competencies in our area.
Okay. And do you think are you expecting anything different from the education system, in Iskandar Putri, in Malaysia, or globally in general?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, just a couple of months ago, I've been engaging a lot with a lot of educational institutions, and we've had very good discussions about how do we engage not just the students but also the faculty with us. The thing what we feel when we talk to the students in the educational institution is that there's still this old perception of the outsourcing industry. All those people who are highly skilled in technology and in digital, the outsourcing might not be their first choice of work with or for their internship. And I think the faculty also needs to understand that these industry is changing a lot. As we move towards digitalization, we need more highly educated skills, data analytics. Those are very useful for us. And this is something that I feel like, based on my interaction with the students, they're not very familiar with the changes that we have in this industry. And so I think we've had a conversation about a few of the universities where we can engage the faculty to come into our office and also know what are the changing needs of our industry, so then they can also update it back to their students, because they're the one who can who have the day-to-day interaction with the students, and they can we believe that through that engagement, the students also will understand that this industry is changing, that they have a place in this industry, and they have a lot of opportunities in this industry.
So, are you saying, Hannah, that do you agree that there is a gap between what the education system is producing and what the industry is expecting?
That also, and I think it's because our industry is not niche, but it's very specific, right? There is no specific major in outsourcing. So there's always the need for us to give the entry level training when the first time the students come into our company. But I think the main important is that a lot of these students that have the skills that we need, that have the digital competency, that have the data analytics competency, they are not familiar with this industry, and they don't know that they have a place in this industry. I think that awareness should be improved.
Okay. And is Transcosmos anywhere globally partnering with the educational institutions on that?
Yes, we do, and we also we talk with MDEC about this as well. Another thing that we thought that we want to engage students with is we are a Japanese outsourcing company, and you probably know Japan. We have quite a unique management system, and so a lot of Malaysian students are not familiar with that. And so we talked with MDEC that we want to probably start an internship program where Malaysian students can work in our company in Japan, familiarize themselves with the Japanese management. So then when they come to our company, they're also more familiar about how we work, etc. Yes.
Okay. That's good to hear. Okay, thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you.
We have more questions. We'll come back to you. Ibrahim, my next question is to you, since you handle the JDET program. Malaysia, as published by the Global Talent Competitive Index for 2020, has moved up from to the 26th position versus what it was in 2009 and 28. Malaysia scored strongly in to enable to attract talent on vocational and technical skills, and talent is the key source of is the tipping point for the GBS industry. Could you share a little bit about JDET's initiatives and programs that support building a healthy talent pipeline?
Thank you, Ajay, for the questions. I take note on some of the points that was raised by the two former panelists. It is in line to what JDET is all about. It's about upskilling and reskilling existing talent to fit into the new digital and emerging technology area. So when you mentioned about digitalization, we noticed, based on what our experience in managing the Johor Digital and Emerging Technology Talent Program, is that companies more, open to even engage talent digitally. I mean, we used to bring talent on board and train them face to face. But because of the pandemic, even when it comes to taking talent on board, this is done digitally. Even when it comes to training them while they are actually in the company itself, all is done in a digital format. So what JDET does is basically, we is a program to actually identify the existing demand that the companies have But obviously, due to the pandemic, this demand is hard to be realized in terms of the supply, which is the talent. So we come in and see how we can actually bridge the gap, because the companies that we are working with under JDAT, they are majority are from the digital and emerging tech space. And during pandemic, surprisingly, these are the industry that has received a lot of requirement, because the end customers, like, you know, for example, the big corporation, they are embarking, or they are being, what they call that, they are asked to consider going into digitalization during the pandemic period. As a result of that, they work closely with their partners, which are the companies that we are working with under JDAT. So as this company are struggling to find talent, JDAT is where we actually offer them, whereby we actually match the demand and also the supply. At the same time, in between that, we also provide them some level of incentives where we can actually reduce their cost of hiring. So we take away all these, what they call that, challenges from them in terms of finding the talent, in terms of developing the content to even train the talent, and also in terms of paying for the salary and the cost of hiring the talent. So as a result of that, we managed to secure 14 companies, and these companies are actually from Johor, and from Johor, and we are able to help them in terms of hiring. We hire this talent, and what we do is we place them in these 14 companies. So the hiring part is also taken over by JDAT. So we manage their salary, we manage their allowances, we even manage their, what do you call that, their HR, what do you call that, processes and all that. But the company responsibility is just to look into how they can actually upskill by giving them on-the-job training. And in addition to that, we also arrange with our training partners to provide them online training while they are actually placed in these companies. So that is how JDAT is actually playing a role in terms of the helping companies to recruit during the pandemic.
Very, very interesting, Ibrahim. Very interesting. And some of the things that you and Prakash have spoke about, possibly not a lot of companies know outside of Johor. So maybe more work to be done on marketing of some of these programs and getting more companies to Johor. We at Summit Next, while we are currently work from home, employ people from all across Malaysia, would love to have a setup in Johor as well. So we can, but I think these are some great initiatives that the government agencies are taking in Johor. Okay, so we have a question here from one of the attendees. It says access to the and just taking on these questions, since we are talking about talent right now. Access to the right talent is undoubtedly critical to transformation. Improving people's technical capabilities is just part of the task, right? How about soft skills to lead virtually, hybrid, and to face the uncertain situation? Is it important? And Ibrahim, I think since you lead the JDAT initiative, if you could answer that question, please.
So you're saying how? Sorry, I lost you.
So it is yes, talent is important. Training them is technical training is important. How about soft skills? The soft skill required. And to add to from my side, I think one of the things that gone missing with this everybody working virtual is the soft skill learning process has become slower. So I think that's where the question is coming from.
Okay. Exactly. I think soft skill is more pertinent now that we are, working virtually, because a lot of things are not able to be translated virtually. You cannot see the body language, you cannot see things like that. So when we developed the training program for JDET for the companies, we realized that even though the company is a technical, like a blockchain companies, AI companies, soft skill requirement is there. One of the top, at least 5 skill set requirement that they wanted us to incorporate into the training module, because they feel that, working virtually, doing it digitally, we need to be able to actually incorporate soft skill, for example, teamwork. How do you actually work in a hybrid environment? How do you actually communicate? Because it's different face to face and virtually. How do you actually work in the team at the same time you are working on your own remotely or digitally? So those kind of soft skills, we call it, is required, apart from ability to communicate effectively. Even how do you actually manage your time on your own, because you are not in a group or not physically present. So how do you actually manage your time? How do you actually communicate your needs? How do you actually talk in a virtual environment like this? Those things are actually requested by the company as part of the content for their training that we put together under JDET. So I have to echo with Ajay on that soft skill is still very much relevant, even though we are now all going virtual. Even more relevant now, when it's very difficult for you to read other source of signals apart from what you see on the screen. So yes, I have to say that soft skill is still there, and I think it's getting more pertinent.
Okay, and is there a special initiative under the JDET program to train people under the for soft skills? Because I know some of the programs are more focused towards the technical skills, the hardcore vocational skills.
Yeah, technical is, yes. I think that majority companies are technical companies. Yes, they have technical requirement, but we also receive soft skill requirement from the technical companies. But we also have companies that are looking at developing people who are more customer centric. So they need this soft skill training in Johor. And as you know, one of our biggest client is Aegis. When I engage them, they continuously highlight that these are the key requirements when they want to hire new candidates to join the organization. So yes, we have an initiative as part of JDET that we are looking at a particular pillar that is looking at how we can actually offer that to enhance the soft skill of the talent that goes through the JDET program.
Okay, sure. So thank you, Ibrahim. I'll move on to the next question, and I think we'll come back to the talent part towards the end of the session. And my next question is for Gaurav. Based on your experience, Gaurav, what do you think the government, the regulators, the industry need to do to support the talent landscape in Malaysia, especially post-pandemic, and preparing people for the future?
Sure. Thank you so much, Ajay, for that question. So, yes, so there are a couple of things that we want to touch upon, which is from a government and the regulator standpoint, where they can help, and then from an industry standpoint, to develop the talent and in fact, to nurture the talent which is there, or to retain the talent which is there. So definitely these programs which Prakash has mentioned, which Ibrahim has mentioned, are extremely helpful in bringing in the right talent that we need. I'm sure the people are aware that we have close to 1,000 plus employees in Johor Bahru in our location here, and 99% of them are locals that we have hired, and we've sourced them locally. So Yeah, so a lot of credit goes to the agencies like IRDA. Then we have the GBS ISKANDAR program, which helps in coming up with programs, which helps us in getting us hiring the right talent. How we move forward is, see, those programs and all needs to be tweaked or transformed now to meet the requirements of the industry. Now, for example, 2 years back, pre-pandemic, we had a different skill set requirement. All our people were in brick and mortar environment, so we could train them and we can manage them better. But now with this pandemic hitting us, we moved into an environment where a majority of our employees are sitting in their homes and working from there. So the requirement has changed. We need help. One is the software aspect, soft skill, what it said. Other is the technical knowledge. Third is around the data security, especially in our industry. It's extremely important, right? So people might not realize that when they're working from home, they might not realize the importance of data security, but for companies like us, it is our bread and butter. So that is one important aspect of information technology, information security, which needs to be. I think that is something which needs to be a part of the training programs, which can be which the government or the regulators or the agencies can help in coming up with. We can partner with them basis our learning, but that is something which we feel which can help really in bringing up the talent pool to take care of post-pandemic requirements which is there.
Okay. And got it. Okay, so you may want to, Gaurav, list down some of these things, and we can share it with IRDA and or IIB to see what can be done. Definitely it will help us help the organization in general.
Yes, and in fact, apart from that, see, this is one aspect on the talent side of it. There are certain other aspects when we talk about the government agencies and the regulators post-pandemic, and we're talking about digital things moving faster on the digital world now. One is the connectivity. See, one of the issues that we faced during this pandemic was to provide connectivity to people at their homes. In Johor, I'm just talking about Johor at the moment. We had scenarios where people don't have broadband connections at home, or the mobile network wasn't great, and hence we could not connect them. We wanted them to be online, but unfortunately the broadband lines were not there, or the mobile network wasn't really great. While Malaysia does really well, if we look at the region around, I think we are second to Singapore in terms of our internet usage and the number of internet users across. Having said that, I think there's a lot of work which needs to be done there, especially to the interiors. Just to give an example in terms of broadband connectivity, if local has to go and take up broadband connectivity, there's a 2-year contract they have to sign, which most of them might not be okay to do that. Things like that, more flexibility, maybe more competitors can come into this market. This is a broader thing, but maybe from a government perspective, this penetration needs to be higher for this digital initiative to survive. 5G is something which everybody is looking up to. Some of the countries have already moved on with 5G, and those speeds are fantastic. So you don't really need a broadband in that case. That is something which we need to see how soon can the government help, the industry can help in coming up with that, right? Especially in these regions. So yeah, these are some certain things. Maybe my friend Prakash or Ibrahim can shed some light on it. If there's something in the tunnel coming, or there's something which is there, it would be great to hear on that.
So Gaurav, you bring up an interesting point. Do you think for large employers like Aegis Startech in Malaysia or globally, some concept of a campus would appeal, in the post-pandemic world where people work and live in the same areas space?
While we have, in our industry, we do have certain organizations who have experimented with this. if I have to talk specific to Johor, we have a substantial population of people who live very close to our office here. Like we rented a hostel accommodation where 40% of our people stay. But looking at it as it can be one of the solutions, but it is not the only solution, because people are spread across. As Prakash initially mentioned, it's not only geography which is there. Right now with digitalization, geography is no boundaries. We hire people in countries, like we have work from home people in Japan, Korea, Thailand, and all those markets, right? So we have those people there. So yes, that's a good idea of having a campus which takes care of significant proportion of people. That's one thing which can be explored. Some of the industry leaders are doing it. We might look at it in the near future. But that's a good point that can be looked upon.
Okay. We'll move on to the next question, Hannah. That's for you. From your industry experience, what is the most crucial for a company's sustainability and growth in Malaysia, and especially locations like Iskandar?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Talking about what is the most crucial for our company's sustainability and growth in Malaysia, right? I think I would want to tie it also to the question that was asked before. How is soft skill important on top of digital skill? So I think with digital transformation, right, I would say based on our experience, it's an ongoing journey of constant adaptation. And it's not only adaptation in terms of adapting and learning the new technologies, right? But it's also adaptation in the implementation of those technologies that may also affect the need for adaptation in organizational structure, which leads to new ways of thinking and new ways of working together. And also, as Prakash and Gaurav both mentioned, also it attracted new breed of talent. And so based on our experience in Transcosmos, every time we take a step in digitalization, we gain new insights. And with new insights, we need to constantly think, what's next? How can we take it further from here, right? So it's a constant adaptation journey. And so seeing the constant change that we have to go through in this recent years alone, I think that the key challenge is to create and promote an organizational culture that encourage people to actively embrace change and continuously foster organizational resilience. And the soft skill is, I would say, is more important than the digital skills. And what was your second question? I'm sorry.
So my second question was, it was around how do you support growth in markets like Malaysia or even Iskandar Putri, if you were to.
Right. As for location, right, as an outsourcing service provider, we still need to be cost competitive, and we need to have a robust world-class infrastructure for stable operation. And then due to the changes in the market that I mentioned before, we need more educated, highly skilled talents to so access to those talents becoming the new order winner criteria. And so locations like Iskandar Putri, which provide that cost competitiveness and reliable infrastructure, there's availability of MSc status buildings is definitely in our interest. And actually, I haven't told you about this yet. I haven't shared about this yet, but actually Iskandar Putri is one of the locations that we are looking at for our potential near future expansion plan. And we met some of the representatives from Iskandar Putri back in early 2020, but then too bad COVID happened and we haven't had the chance to visit. I hope we can check it out. But yeah, I think that Iskandar Putri is one of the top locations of our interest because it has the fundamental qualifications that we require for our operational sites, especially in cost effectiveness, the availability of MSc status building and the robust infrastructure and access to scalable, highly educated talents.
Okay. And you mentioned cost effectiveness. While Malaysia as a GBS location is possibly slightly more expensive than, say, India or Philippines. Do you think the talent can offset that cost competitiveness that's possibly not there right now?
I think so, but I think industry has a lot of role in shaping that on top of the educational institution. Because I think if we just rely on the talents that are produced by educational institution, I think it takes a while to adapt to the changes. And the thing, right, the changes that are happening is very constant, it's very fast. But then the educational institution, being big educational institution, they take time to adapt to that. So I think organizational have a big role in shaping the future talents through our organizational structure, organizational culture. And I think there are a few good companies that are able to shape the talents inside their company. And I think if a lot of organization also help to develop those talents, I think we can offset in the future.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. That the talent development is joint responsibility of the educational institutions and the industry. The onus cannot lie on just one entity, one body to develop talent.
Right.
I just feel, adding to what you said, the industry needs to be more proactive to give inputs to the educational institutions on what they are looking for the educational institution to develop people as per what the industry is demanding. So I think the first step somewhere has to come from the industry to make the additional effort to provide input to the educational institutions.
Yes, and actually based on our experience with our new graduates and with our interns, actually we feel like they're pretty adaptable. And they're quite fast to adapt with new technologies. It's just sometimes they're not very familiar with our industry. They're not familiar maybe with the global, what are happening, what are the changes in the global ecosystem and stuff like that. So I think by us also training them, giving that familiarity to them, I can tell I can see the potential.
Okay, that's good to hear. So we have a few more questions coming in, but from a panel discussion standpoint, I have one last question for Gaurav before we move to the questions coming in from the audience. Gaurav, while you've spoken about some of the things during my earlier question about how the regulators can help, but one being StarTech, Aegis being one of the pioneers in Iskandar Putri, one of the largest employers in Iskandar Putri. I'm sure you don't want much competition in Iskandar Putri, but what would be your message for companies looking to set up operations there?
Thanks, Ajay, for that question. And I'm sure you also know this region as well as I do. This region has significantly grown in the last 5 years or so, and the top few reasons which come to my mind and for us to be here and why the other companies should come in and do business here or set up their offices here is, number one is the infrastructure. When we look at the infrastructure around this region, this is excellent infrastructure, connectivity. When we talk about whether it is airport connectivity, we've got ports here. So we have got Senai. It's an international airport which is like 30 kilometers away from here. You've got Changi Airport. Once international borders open, things are back to normal. They're 50 kilometers from here. You've got ports and the road connectivity is fantastic. I think here. Apart from that, there's affordable housing options which are available in this area, which an employee looks at once they move into this area. These are pretty decent and nice houses at a very, very affordable rentals, which are available here. Other than that, if you look at this region, we have an area which is called Edu City, which is where the universities are there, where we have the talent, where we can source the talent for internship and all that stuff, all that thing that we need. So there's a pool there which can be tapped upon. Again, coming back to the infrastructure, there's international schools in this region. There's hospitals, Gleneagles, Columbia Asia. There's Sunway Township, which is fast progressing here. So there's everything that you need is within like the 5 kilometers center. It's not like before. Like there's a lot of options which are available for an employee to sustain recreation from a recreation perspective as well. So they don't really need to move around too much. I think public transport is something which definitely needs, I'm sure, a little more improvement. And I think we're aware that Iskandar region is coming up with a plan already. I did see some test runs happening of that corridor, which is there built for those rapid transport corridor, which is there, which will help in facilitating the public transport, which seems to be a slight issue here. But I think that also the government is taking care of it. Last but not the least, the bodies like IIB, IRDA, which are supported by the federal government, their role is to facilitate investors like us, or the new investors which are coming in, to expedite the approvals and if they get stuck anywhere. So it's an ecosystem which has been built, which has been planned beautifully for any of the investors to come in and have set up their teams here. So these are some of the salient features which I can talk you through. I can talk about it like for an hour or so, but I'm sure.
Gaurav, you missed one thing that's not there in Iskandar 3.
Which would be?
Traffic.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. So that's true. So that I'm sure for big cities like Kuala Lumpur or Selangor where you are, I'm sure commuting time takes a lot of effort. Here it's a breeze. Right, so that is definitely you save the work-life balance. Things come into the picture. You save a lot of time on there as well. So definitely, yeah, that's again a key point. Thank you for that.
Okay. So we have a few questions that have come in from the audience. I'll take that up before we summarize and end this panel discussion. So there's one question which says, is there a specific course in university for shared services? Yes, there is one. There is one done by the UKM, but I'm sure the industry would love to have more such courses, specific courses to certain parts of the industry, which is either customer service or customer acquisition, finance and accounting, knowledge services, and so on. So I don't know if you have anybody in the audience from the education industry. Definitely this panel would want to discuss more on that, what can be done. But to that question, yes, there is something that's there. The next question, maybe I'll point it towards either Hannah or Gaurav, and maybe both of you can answer that. What is the career progression in shared services industry? Hannah, why don't you go ahead?
Sorry, what is the question again?
What is the career progression in shared services industry?
Are you asking about shared services in general or GBS?
GBS in general.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before that I think the talent environment is changing in the GBS industry, right? Because of digitalization, we need more of the digital literacy, digital talents, data analytics, those new skills that were not very big before is now a big part of our industry talents.
Okay, got it. Gaurav, anything you would like to say to it?
From a career progression, see, this industry is very, very dynamic and very, very fast moving. So the career progression, and I'm sure this is coming from the audience, people who are listening to this, the career progression in this industry, as compared to some of the other industries, is pretty fast. If you are really good, if you really learn your stuff, and the organization provide you an ecosystem where you have the training programs, you have leaders to mentor you. If you're ready to put in that effort, then growth or the career progression is extremely fast. You can move into various different departments, learn different skills, and just to talk about StarTech, see, when we promote our people or when we look at filling up a position, we first go back and look at our internal talent before we go out and hire. So that is the opportunity which is there. So it can be any department. It can be human resource. It can be administration. It can be MIS, business analytics, anything, right? So for that, we go back and look at our pool of people who are there, who have worked with us for a year and a half or two. We pick those talents, we groom them, we put them in a program. For example, data analytics, like Hannah said, right? We take them through a 6 months program where they are trained through different things or the different softwares which they will have to be used and all those stuff. So to answer that question to the audience there, if you're ready to put in that extra mile, if you're ready to put in that hard work, there is no stopping. This industry is extremely fast, and if you have that right mindset, then sky's the limit. If I can answer that.
So Gaurav, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think if I remember correctly, you are a live example of what this industry offers, right? So 18 years from being an agent to a site head in a large multinational, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So I started off as an agent at an entry level way back in 2004 in India, and then I've done pretty okay for myself, and yes, so that's truly if that's an example, yes, that's a career progression. If I've been fortunate to have some of the mentors in the industry who helped me learn and grow. I've been fortunate to have the organization who gave me an opportunity. But yeah, that's in front of you, and I'm one of the people who have reached here. There are people who have gone ahead. There's many more people that I know within the industry who again started from a scratch within a period of 15 over years. They're sitting at very senior positions. So yeah, to answer that question, absolutely, yeah.
I think that's so to the audience, that's the perfect example of what this industry offers, what GBS offers as a career progression, as a career opportunity. The last question that we have is, while I'll read that out, so building new service offerings requires attracting the right talent. This has always been a limiting factor for GBS, but now it seems to be more difficult than ever. Talent hotspots continue to move from typical GBS locations toward new innovative zones. How GBS companies to solve to get the right talent? Ibrahim, Prakash, talent, again, it comes back to you. How do we solve the talent issue? And I also have something to add to this question. Maybe, once we heard from you, I'd add to that.
If I may start first in trying to answer this question.
Yeah.
To me, I think we have to continuously promote this industry. Yeah. And obviously not just promote the opportunity, but the evolution of the industry. Like what Hannah mentioned earlier, the industry is getting more technical. You need more educated, you need more high level type of skill set. Yeah, I think we need to continuously promote this to show that we are still relevant. We are not the typical call center or customer service type of operation where things are just picking up the phone and all that. It is more digital now. It is more online. So I think in order for us to make sure that we are up there with the other so-called innovative zone in the question asked, we need to constantly do this kind of session to make sure that we are able to promote the development and the exciting things that the GBS industry has embraced, which is to also in line with what is happening out there in the market. So I think that's the way for us to make sure that talents are aware about what opportunities lies for them. Because to them, if I'm a technical person, for now maybe they should go into this innovative zone because they can actually work in a technical type of companies. But later that they know that, being a technical person, they can still acquire and apply their technical skill in the GBS industry. So to me, it is our responsibility, not just in terms of what they call that, getting the talent, but also promoting the industry. That's my quick answer.
If I can add to that, Ajay, I think this resonates very well with the point that I'd like to make. I think there are two things that we need to understand. One is talent has become more mobile. Talent has also become more global, right? If anything, I think the last 2 years has taught us that. So having said that, I think industry now should look at this as an opportunity to attract talent and with exactly the point that Ibrahim said earlier. I think the role is two ways. One is, not just building the ecosystem, but at the same time ensuring that talent knows which are the organizations that they want to be associated with in terms of their career development. So career development has become something that's more personalized now. It's a little bit more in the hands of the talent rather than the organization. So what needs to happen today is organizations actually need to show the path in a more clearer way to the talent, so that the talent can now understand that this is the organization that they want to associate themselves with. This is the success story that they want to be a part of. And I think these are the key success factors that is critical to ensure that the industry is able to attract the right talent to work for them.
Absolutely, Prakash, and I completely agree with that. Just to add, I think if the industry moves in the right direction, then the talent problem may just reduce, with the advent of COVID and the post-COVID world. Just to give you an example of Summit Next as a company, as I said earlier, we are 100% remote. Our people are based in Penang, Kedah, Pahang, Kuching, and really good people. So in a way, we've benefited that, talent is available, great talent is available, which was earlier not available for the industry. So yes, talent is always an issue for the GBS industry, but the post-pandemic world will see this industry benefiting with, talent in remote locations being available for the industry, which was not available earlier. So I think that's really a good part for the industry overall. So I think that's more or less what we had as part of the discussion. One question, maybe one word and one line from all the four panelists that I would want to ask before we sign off, which is people or technology, which comes first for you and why? Would you prioritize one over the other?
If I can start?
Yes.
If anything, Ajay, over the years, what my own personal learning experience has been is that technology evolves, and it evolves. It actually evolves every 3 to 5 years, right? And we are living in a world where this multiplier factor just keeps growing, with the times. So I think the key thing here is actually people, in ensuring that the people that we bring into the organization or into the industry is able to adapt to that technology with resilience, is able to be diligent and agile enough to be able to embrace that new technology. And I think if you ask me, it was one or the other, I would definitely go for people.
Okay, so people supported by technology. That's what you're saying, right? Okay.
I really agree with Prakash, and I think that generally technology itself doesn't transform the company. It's primarily determined by the degree to which people are empowered to actively embrace the new potential of the technology as an opportunity for growth and innovation, right? But if you ask me in terms of COVID, right, I found it difficult to prioritize one over the other. I think budget-wise, we might need to set budget for both simultaneously. But in terms of approaching the fusing people in technology, I would say that we adopt technology with our people's best interest in mind, as opposed to feeding the people into the technology.
Okay. That's a good viewpoint. Ibrahim, and we'll end with
obviously people, because that's why we have this JDAT program. For me, people are trainable, people can be upskilled, but in order to do that, you must create the environment for people to thrive, for people to learn, and for people to take up new technology. Technology will definitely change, but people will stay if you are able to give them the right kind of tools, the right kind of environment for them to learn and be able to use the technology, acquire new knowledge, and be able to also contribute. So to me, Malaysia, as you know, has always been known as one of the top locations for GBS because of its people. And we are multilingual. We are quite unique in the sense that our worldview is different because of our environment. So in terms of technology, as I think Barak mentioned earlier, the rate of technology adoption in Malaysia is phenomenal. So I would always put people as first priority, but provide them the right kind of environment for them to embrace technology.
Okay, absolutely makes sense. Yes, Gaurav.
Yeah, so I would agree to all the three panelists here that, and especially in business services, are kind of an industry. It's people driven. So it's definitely it's people comes first. Technology is an enabler. Technology can't be left behind. It's an enabler for us. So I would end by saying people enabled with technology. So that is where people will definitely come, but technology is an enabler. So that's how I would like to.
Gaurav, you hijacked my last parting sentence. People enabled by technology. Okay. Yeah. So I think exactly that's what it is. That while all of us love technology, as Prakash said, technology keeps changing 3 to 5 years. I think in today's time it changes every 2 years. New internet speeds and everything. So, but people is the core essence of GBS business. I think more than any other business. So yes, people is priority enabled by technology. I think it's been a very good discussion. Definitely some key takeaways for me as well. I hope the audience have had a good time as to understanding some of the things at how they work at GBS and Iskandar as a location. And I think it'll be easy for through the platform. You could get in touch with us if you have further questions. You have, and I'm sure some people will have questions for Prakash or Ibrahim. They'll be happy to answer that. Thank you so much. It's been an exciting session for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, fellow panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.